But I don't write protest songs. I just write songs about the world, real life. On the radio, they write songs about fake things. That's how you get on the radio. Staying up all night long, that's a good thing to write about if you want to get on the radio. When we heard the news, we were to be arrested. We had no doubt exactly what our fate would be. We had hours to get out, only hours to be tested for 5,000 people to cross the Baltic Sea. We had to go at night in the cover of the darkness. There's no way I could exaggerate the threat. We tried not to make a sound, wore nothing that would mark us, but no one knew how far across we'd get. And I thank God for the fishermen who gave us a ride and took us over to the other side. To find so many boats ready for the journey, to find so many prepared to risk it all. Not everyone could read the stars, not every boat was worthy, not everyone prepared to heed the call. I thank God for the fishermen who gave us a ride and took us over to the other side. Some risked everything for free, accepting nothing but a handshake. Some charged enough to live on for a year. But such details don't matter when so much is at stake, when all that matters is a boat that you can steer. We lived out the war in Sweden while so many others didn't, and most people here will easily agree. To say we deserved asylum would simply be redundant in the boat lift of 1943. And I thank God for the fishermen who gave us a ride and took us over to the other side. I thank God for the fishermen who gave us a ride and took us over to the other side. 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 You can hear the guitar? Maybe just a little bit more guitar reminders. Thanks. Did you get up in the morning, see your kids off to school, as you headed to the office? Was it hard to keep your cool when you saw the news and the picture of the boy on the beach just down the coast from the ancient town of Troy? Did you think about the victims of these most uncivil wars when you saw the children washing up upon our shores? Did you hear the pundits talking? Did you hear them saying, we must have law and order, all these migrants cannot stay? Did you see the people walking, trying not to look at the headlines splashed around them and this photo someone took? Did you want to shout at each of them, knock on every door and tell them there are children washing up upon our shores? Is the thought seared in your mind when you see your son or daughter of this child from Kobane face down beside the water? Did you keep on asking since then, what if it had been you? Do you just wish that you could find out what just one person could do? Is his image all around you as the sweat comes from your pores? There are children washing up upon our shores. Do you just keep on asking yourself the question why, as you make dinner for your children? This one had to die. If you just hit the road from England a few days south and east, do you think about how you could, and once you're there at least, you could leave a flower and hear the wind implore? There are children washing up upon our shores. There are children washing up upon our shores.
Well, me and Christian Svensson have been traveling around last spring and also this fall around Scandinavia on the occasion of the 100th anniversary of the execution by firing squad of the Swedish labor organizer and cartoonist and musician Joel Emanuel Hägglund, or Joe Hill. And it's important to remember, I think, that Joe Hill was a member of a huge, radical, militant labor organization called the Industrial Workers of the World. And when the United States formed its national police force, the FBI, for the first time, they did that with the express intent of destroying the IWW. And they were especially concerned about the Union because of their stance against the war. They were opposed to the First World War, and for being opposed to war as an imperialist venture of the United States, they were considered to be German agents, and they deported 20,000 of their members to Europe, and they arrested the entire leadership of the organization, 166 men and women, in 1919. And they contracted with a right-wing veterans group called the American Legion to burn down their union halls across the country. And but 4 years before that is when Joe Hill was executed. And here's a song about that. Joel Hägglund came from Sweden, which was very far from Eden. By the time he left, most of his family died. His sisters and his mother, his father and his brothers, so with one remaining sibling at his side. He got a notion to sail across the ocean, where he heard the streets were paved with gold. Not long after his arrival, as he toiled for survival, he realized the bill of goods that he'd been sold. He got a whole lot wiser, became an organizer, and he organized with artistry as skill. He spoke up, raised his fist, got right on the blacklist. That's why he changed his name to Joe Hill. He heard that it was best if he headed to the west, where the industrial workers of the world were finding the solutions for making revolution, with red songbook and red flag unfurled. 100 years ago, the bard with the union card proved his music was too powerful, too strong. They couldn't stand the sound, they had to take him down, lest he organize the working class in song. Soon as he paid his dues, he tried hard to light the fuse, speaking, singing, writing lyrics and cartoons. He sent off the whole mess to the wobbly press, and they sang his songs as they fought the goons. He joined a singing movement that fought for improvement by abolishing wage slavery worldwide. He sang the wobbly line, beseeching workers to combine. Learn from Mr. Block, the bosses lied. 100 years ago, the bard with the union card proved his music was too powerful, too strong. They couldn't stand the sound, they had to take him down, lest he organize the working class in song. His life would be cut short by a kangaroo court, eager to determine one man's fate. Evidence was circumstantial, but that's inconsequential when you've become an enemy of the state. They put him up against the wall, and that was all. They gunned him down in 1915. He took all the bullets he could take there by the Salt Lake for being the best bard they'd ever seen. 100 years ago, the bard with the union card proved his music was too powerful, too strong. They couldn't stand the sound, they had to take him down, lest he organize the working class in song. 100 years ago, the bard with the union card proved his music was too powerful, too strong. They couldn't stand the sound, they had to take him down, lest he organize the working class in song. Lest he organize the working class in song. think I got time for one more. And I was in Germany last May during Liberation Day there on May 8th and found out that one of the folks who organizes gigs for me in Hamburg, that both of her maternal grandparents were activists during the 30s and 40s and spent most of their time in prisons and concentration camps. And her grandfather was executed in 1944 outside of Berlin, and her grandmother survived the war, and her survival of the war was a remarkable story that was made for a song, so I wrote one. Katharina Jakob, long before she took that name, was organizing workers in Hamburg just the same. Organizing beneath the flag of deepest red, a new dawn of peace and freedom clearly shining in her head. Katharina Jakob first was sent to jail when the trappings of democracy all began to fail. She was frequently arrested in and out of custody while her first husband was in hiding from the Nazis. Katharina Jakob was acquitted of a crime, but the Gestapo had the last word and they weren't finished with her this time. She was sent to Ravensbrück, a killing hunger at her side. She heard of the execution, how her second husband died. For Katharina Jakob, the end was close at hand. She was on a death march with a starving band, marching through the forest, being led by the SS. What would happen hours later seemed impossible to guess. When the sun rose the next morning, it was the 1st of May, and they all sang the Internationale. They all sang the Internationale. Katharina Jakob thought about her children and the friends and comrades taking care of them, not knowing yet if any of them survived, not knowing that soon she'd see her daughters both alive. Katharina Jakob watched the German soldiers fleeing, streaming from the east, that's what she was seeing. Allied bombers flew above them, she thought they all might die, and then soon there was the silence of all the SS men. When the sun rose the next morning, it was the 1st of May, and they all sang the Internationale. They all sang the Internationale. Katharina Jakob saw red flags flapping in the breeze above the Russian tanks, and she fell upon her knees. And so many different voices in so many different tongues sang the most beautiful song that could ever have been sung. In German, Lithuanian, in Polish and in Dutch, a myriad of melodies as never had been such. In Russian and in Yiddish, Italian and French, emerging from the forests beneath a trench. When the sun rose the next morning, it was the 1st of May, and they all sang the Internationale. When the sun rose the next morning, it was the 1st of May, when they all sang the Internationale. They all sang the Internationale. Volke, die Signale auf zum letzten Gefecht. Die Internationale erkämpft das Menschenrecht. Volke, die Signale auf zum letzten Gefecht. Die Internationale erkämpft das Menschenrecht. Tusind tak.
Tak til David Rovics.